My name is Todd Bright. Welcome to All in Gestures Redback Live. This is our feedback and Q&A session. So I'm glad you could join us, at least on the East Coast of the U.S. this evening, and or wherever you are. Thanks for hanging out with us. This is where our members from our workshop submit their drawings for feedback, and we do this every Wednesday between 8 and 9. So yeah, there you go. Who's here? Checking those chats. Mr. Luke is here. Michael, good evening. Or good afternoon if you're in California. I see Instagram's over there. Hello, Instagram. All right, I'm going to check on YouTube. So we're just getting settled in here for a second, but we got lots of drawings to go over, which is cool. And you guys, please feel free to put in some questions tonight. So whether you're joining us through the All in Gesture chat, or YouTube, or Instagram, yeah, throw out a question and I'll try to see it. But yeah, that's it, man. Let's see here. All right, there we go. Okay, cool. All right, we got everybody up and running. Let's get some drawing in. All right, Jazzy Tunes, I see you waving hi. Martina, hello. Well, cool. All right, let's do this. Let's start drawing stuff. Yeah. Let's go. All right, gotta find out where my buttons are. We had a lot of really cool drawings last week. What was our theme last week? Let's find out. It's been a crazy week. We finished up our mermaid-inspired themes, which was super awesome. And let's see. There we go. Sorry, guys, just pushing a few buttons here. We'll look at our first artist's work. Okay, hang in there with me. Here we go. Hope you guys are having a good night. Huh. Alrighty. Okay, cool. There we go. All right, sorry about that delay. There we go. All right, tech stuff. What are you going to do? All right, so our first artist is Mohi. Very nice work. Enjoyed your stuff last week. Here is some stuff. Some really nice poses. RW's in YouTube. Hey, RW. RW had some good drawings last week. Yeah, really nice, expressive stuff. Mohi. Very cool. I'm going to shrink this down so everybody can see on Instagram. Let's see here. Instagram looks a little bit frozen. I'm not sure. Oh well. I hope not. Let me know, Instagram, if you're frozen, okay? Let's see here. Okay, Mohi, really cool stuff. Really expressive. Very loose. You really push the poses, which is really nice. Let's see here. I'm going to zero in on this laying down pose here. Shrink that just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Huh. And let's see, let's do this. Alright, so I'm doing this in Photoshop. There we go. Okay. Raise it up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So really nice stuff. This was a tough pose, I remember. This our model was great this week. It was the theme was River Tam from the show Firefly. We went with the Serenity theme, which was the last prompt in the Mermaid month, and of course Serenity makes me think of Firefly, that show which turned into a movie later, which was a fan favorite, and the character from that show was River Tam, and she was one of the main characters, and so we did that. And here we go. All right, so this one, I think you got really good going stuff with the ground plane, very good. The arms got a little bit interesting there, and also the structure around the what you would call it, the belly. So yeah, YouTube's coming in good. Jazzy Tunes asked a question. Sorry about that. I'm gonna stop Moe really quick. Jazzy Tunes asked a question. Will there be Saturday gesture workshop in 2 to 3 weeks? There. What a great question, Jazzy Tunes. There is a gesture drawing workshop every weekend. So yeah, every Saturday, and it's taped, so you don't even have to be there. Okay, so I was looking at this one, Mohi, and yeah, I think it's just a quick structure thing. I'm going to push up and bow the back just a little bit. The shoulders is going to mess with that angle a tad. I love how you were drawing with anatomy in your other drawings, like really nice. So I think her shoulder is going to originate up here a little bit more and not be so flat to the ground. You have it a little bit flat right there. So I'm going to raise it up just a little bit. And it looks like her arm got a tad too short, which happens, you know, when you start running out of paper on the side of the paper there. I think we're all guilty of it. But I wanted to also think about what she's doing with this arm. She's grabbing onto, I guess it was her sword, or it could be her battle axe or whatever. But just there's that little bit of support, maybe lifting up just a little bit and giving a slight arc to the back, right? Rather than laying flat and then the head popping up and everything like that. So I think there's going to be a little bit of an arc to the back there, and maybe even exaggerate. Again, we're trying to push poses, right? Exaggerate that arm going up just a little bit. I remember the model was struggling to keep her head up for us that long. That's a tough pose to maintain. But just keeping in mind a little bit, I think you overlapping the shoulder is fine, which is cool. Overlapping the neck and all that, because we are at a 3/4 view. Gosh, what was her hair like? I'm drawing a blank here. Oh, that's right, she had that stringy hair that River has. Yeah, that River Tam, that was a cool character, man. That was fun. If you haven't seen the show Firefly, gotta check it out. So all that to say, and then the chest to be down here, rib cage is under there, and we're kind of moving back there. So just watching a little bit, and I'll put the sword there just to give your reference. Yeah, another thing, I think you have your rear end, like the butt, is maybe just a little too far forward compared to the structure there of the hip. But I'm just being nitpicky, okay? But all that to say, just watch that structure there. Really take a look at those shoulders and just how that construction goes. But yeah, and again, I think the biggest thing is just that arc in that back, just to support the weight a little bit, okay? But other than that, I mean, your drawings are looking really fun this week. Really beautiful stuff. Really a lot of energy in these ones right here. Bigfoot Creative says, my sketchbook is filled with doodles running out of paper. Yes. Yeah, that's why we try to do the line of action idea, because it forces you to look at the drawing as a whole rather than just the pieces and parts. When you focus on the pieces and parts, then yeah, you can run out of room if you're not paying attention. So and this just little thing, Mohit, because I like these poses just fine, and we'll move on. But the uh, my only thing, and I'm a stickler for this a little bit, is just drawing through the form a little bit. I'm just going to draw on top of here. Don't worry, it's another layer. But just make sure you follow through there a little bit. So you have the legs, and it doesn't have to be detailed what's going on underneath the dress, but just that way you're following, and I think you're following the energy just fine in the outside of these drawings, but just as a theme, make sure that they are drawing through. And again, I'm being nitpicky because you're doing that sometimes, but other than that, I think you got some really fun attitude, and that sword one, and that stretching one was kind of a stretching one, and I think you got it. But anyway, really nice work this week. All right, Austin. Very nice. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. Oh, where's Austin's work? So thanks for submitting, Moe. Really nice. Really nice stuff. All right, Austin. Very cool. Let's see. What do we got here? All right. All right. Gosh, it's looking really good. So much of what we're after in gesture drawing, right, is the action, okay, and the acting and the performance, and we talk about this a lot, but I'm gonna talk about it some more. Just really honing in, right, on what's going on inside of the head of the model or the character that you're breaking down, okay. And with this one here, I think it's a solid drawing. Maybe the arm got a little short and a little bit muscular for the female character. River, the character herself, and the model are very like she's a teenage. The character River, she's a teenage girl, right? Escaped from the science facility or whatever from that show, and she's not quite as beefy as a like a Viking warrior girl or something. So I would just kind of think about that. But again, I'm being a little bit nitpicky here, and the main thing I want to focus on is what can we do to maybe push her attitude? Because right now it's just kind of like, I am a cool, awesome warrior person with an axe and a gun, So instead of just striking a pose, what can we do that would push a little bit more fierceness, or like what would we be after? So I think the energy you have in the pose is great. But now I'm just getting a little bit nitpicky here. What can we do here? Whoop. Let's let me get on a different layer. Sorry. I have to move this thing around. There we go. Okay. What can we do here, Austin? All right. Again, thinking of the whole thing, line of action-y. You could either drop that axe low and lift the gun high, like she's ready for action, like, and you could change. It's like, well, the model wasn't doing that. Like, well, that's okay. But how can you be inspired by that model? Maybe I'll drop that shoulder. Okay. I'm getting a little wide in my stance here for the Instagram folks. There we go. Instagram, I just want to ask you guys a question. Can you see the image? Because my little software is saying it's frozen, but I see you guys chatting over there. Let's see. J. Anderson Arts. Is it ever too late to get into animation? No? Short answer. How could it ever be too late? No way, Jose. I mean, I wouldn't wait any longer. Animation's a very difficult thing to learn. It's very rewarding and awesome. All right, so anyway, Austin, I'm just pushing this idea here a little bit. I'm just kind of moving it around. So instead of just like striking a pose, I might do something just to push the attitude. And another thing to ask to do, and this is speaking of animation, um, ask yourself a lot of questions, right? It's like, who is this character? This we've covered this a lot in class. Obviously, you were there, but the she's an emotional science wreck teenager, and she's a science experiment, still figuring out what the heck's going on with herself, and so she's a little unhinged, And so, if you look online, there's a lot of really cool poses of her, and it's really extreme, right? So I might move some things around a little bit, make her a little bit more threatening with the gun straight up in the air, that kind of a thing. But I like, again, I think how you treated this pose in this drawing is really nice. Like you spread her legs apart, she looks pretty tough, but I think we can go a little bit deeper than just what the model's doing, like push it a little further. You have this other one, which I think is a really solid drawing, where the one where she's pointing here, right? Really nice. But I feel like even that could have been pushed a little bit, Like at first glance, it's like, wow, that's a nice solid drawing, But even then, I might push her chest out just a little bit, just to really thinking about that line of action idea. I think I'm drawing into my own head here. But sorry, I'm checking those questions over there. Hey, Will Gay Art, what's up, dude? I see you on Instagram. Cool. Jazzy tunes. Finally prepping a new portfolio. Cool. Well, good. You should, man. But yeah, all that to say, I think this is a solid sketch you did. But how can we take that just a little further? Like really follow that energy of that drawing. But really solid stuff, dude. You got a nice ground plane thing going on. Yeah, all that to say, I would have bowed her back just a little bit more. Yeah, I think I would have done just to push the chest out. That's all. A little bit more energy, but all that to say, I'm just being picky because I think you did a really good one there. So anyhow, that's it. Let's go a little deeper, Austin, because you obviously can draw, so that's good. Mr. Scott Strube. Mr. Scott's one of our longtime members. Avid drawer guy. Really awesome. Let me shrink this down a little bit. Very nice. Yo, Wilgoo. Hey, Matt. Mr. Matt Alray asks, do you like adding twisting and bending into the spine to add dynamic motion? Matt, I do, man. It's all about twisting and bending that spine. Yeah, line of action, I talk about that all the time. It's very much related to the spine, okay? And it's also finding that energy, okay? Because when you think about gesture drawing, again, you're thinking about the whole pose, okay? It's not just drawing the pieces and the parts, and hopefully all these things fit together. Yay, you know. But when you're thinking with your idea first, like getting that quick observation in, you know, getting your idea, and then not just copying the model, but really trying to find the emotion, the energy, the essence of the pose, but also of your idea, right? The attitude you're trying to convey, okay? And obviously the line of action idea helps to uh, sell that and find that motion. And the twisting and the bending is something you can get in there to add more dynamic and interest, yeah? All right, Mr. Scott, here we go. What's going on? Yeah, man, I like that pose that she did. Um, I'm just going to get into small stuff, Scott, okay? Here we go. Scott works really hard. He's out constantly drawing in the malls. Very admirable how much he works and does his stuff. I like the energy you got in this pose, man. That's really cool. Maybe the head got a little small there, but I was gonna do some stuff to it, but I'm kind of digging it. I love the extreme angles you got. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it alone. I think I would just be redrawing it. I might mess around with the head. It looks like it may be set into the shoulders a little bit, maybe just to make sure that it's, you know, it's very okay. I will do a little bit. The I like all the angles and everything you did. It's very River-esque, right? She's a little creepy. Let's just be honest. Um, but as far as the structure goes of this pose, I think I remember this one. This was a tough one. I think you pulled it off. But just remember to think, because as artists, it can be easy to think two-dimensionally. Okay, just remember to think in 3 dimensions all the time when you're drawing these forms. Okay, I know we're drawing flat and all that kind of stuff, but um, just really, and I know we're sometimes we're putting this stuff down so quickly in the class, right? Or even out drawing in the wild. Got that cool comic feet shape thing you did there. Um, but just remember, like if silhouette-wise and structure-wise, I might think, okay, let's see, where's her? Let's say her chest is there. Can't help it, Scott. Sorry, man. Here we go. Get you that further out. Okay, again, looking at the shoulder area, that's where I started here, this rant. But you got your clavicle, right, in there. Then you have the neck. And yes, the head is close to us there. And I like that you have her head slumped down. That's going to do what you did with these little guidelines. But all that to say, just really think about, is that where the head is? It almost looks like it's a little too set in, and I'm trying to move it over and bring it out just a little bit, just to sell the structure, and then you can put her crazy hair in there. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, Scott, just being nitpicky. This one, just watch the proportions a little bit. I don't know what she's up to in this pose. But yeah, just watch a little bit of those proportions. I think the again, she's a teenager, so like in our other drawing, oops, our other drawing from another artist earlier was the note was just got a little bit thick. I'll draw up here. You know, it's like you have to know your character, right? And I think one benefit of really asking, and this is why during the class, our Saturday class, we try to go over the character, introduce the character. I would say many of the days we do that just to, and then we talk about the character as we're drawing and who is this person and da 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 da. But knowing, it's like, okay, this is a kind of an unhinged teenager. She's a little bit fragile looking, but the twist is she's not fragile at all, you know? And so it's good to know these things because then you could exaggerate that. You could exaggerate the proportions of the character, the look of the character, okay? Stuff like that. So all that to say, she gets a little thick there. That's all. All right. And one more, Scott. I just want to bring this up. This is a quick note. I loved this pose that she got into. It's actually the one I have on my board behind me. Didn't quite get mine all the way where I wanted it either, but there was something interesting about this pose because we know that River, this character, again, asking yourself who she is, what she's going through, she's also very tortured, you know, and she gets into these, she basically sometimes, she's not always an awesome warrior. She's, especially in the beginning of the stories, right, she's withdrawn and affected when there's stress going on around her, and she kind of curls away. What do you call that? Cowers. Hello. She kind of cowers away and stuff like that. So, so this pose, your drawing is nice and solid. You know, proportions are great. All those wonderful things. But I was thinking maybe how do we push that tortured feeling? Because right now it could just be like somebody's frustrated, you know, or tired, right? Like the arms are kind of even, and I think what I was trying to do, I think it's not a bad drawing, but how can we push this and really make like this person is losing their mind? Like how do we get that into a pose, you know? And I was thinking like folding those arms even closer, like she's just completely like, you know, everything is just tucked in, right? And I think what you did is great with the balance, and Scott, you're so good at showing like ground plane and stuff like that. I don't think I'm helping matters with my proportions here, but just the idea, like how do I just completely encapsulate her? You know, it's like she wants to be in a ball, she wants to be in a cocoon and cover every little space to protect herself. But like your arms are kind of open. There's a lot you can't really. That's not really protected, but maybe folding them in, stuff like that. Like really feel the pose. You know, feel the emotion that this character is going through. That's good. That's enough. I'll stop talking about that one. Scott, great work. Mr. Luke, what's up, dude? Alrighty. Oh, I'm gonna check that chat here. Hey, do you have any tips for proportions when doing gestures? Something I get caught up in arcs and body parts. Uh, something I get caught up in. Arcs and body parts get squashed and stretched. Cool. Thank you for your questions. All right, that was from Instagram. Let's try to tackle that question while I'm doing this drawing here. There we go. Okay. Let's make it some space here. Mr. Luke's one of our members. Hard-working dude. All right. Let's see here. Can't quite remember this pose, but thinking of this character, I think there's just some structural stuff we could talk about here. I love this arm sticking out. I think you got some good energy in this pose here. One thing about River, she's what do you call it? She's like a ninja warrior kind of person. Okay. Let's see here. Sorry, I want to read that question again. Okay, yes, tips for proportion. Okay, so this one got a little bit out of proportion. And one thing I like to do for gesture and how to help lock in proportions when things get crazy, and we just talked about this actually a little bit ago, is I try to think of the thing as a whole, okay, and start to block in the drawing as a whole rather than start with a particular body part and grow out from there, okay? And there's a tool, and again, you're going to hear me talk about it all the time. Line of action is a great tool because it's one of those types of tools that allows you to look at the drawing as a whole instead of just pieces and parts. Sometimes you get excited about a part, like, oh, look at how that leg is folding. I don't know. But it's like, finding that energy from the back foot all the way up, okay? And we'll do another one in a second here that isn't quite as dynamic as this or something, but to lock that in. But after I get the line of action, I like to plot the shoulder angles, right? And the hip angles, and even the feet, okay? Where they all relate to each other. And obviously the head after that. And then that's just the way I do it. But once I plot those things, I've already established how far everything is apart from each other. And then the proportions, boop, just kind of fit right in together. So line of action and angles is a short answer to your question. So let's do those things. All right, Mr. Luke, I'm digging it. I'm just adding a little bit of structure, man. You did the blowing hair. Okay, that's cool. I don't know what she's doing with her arm there. So with you, dude, I think it's time to, I like the straight you have in your arm, but I think you could start drawing a little bit with anatomy. Remember, she had her dress on. Hello, Matt and Jenny. Hey, Nick, I see you over there in the member chat. Awesome. Awesome sauce. So yeah, I could see you did your clavicle on there. Very nice. And then you have your shoulder will go out here a little bit. I think there'd be a little bit of space there. And I think your hand is on the knee back there. You know, I'm not sure. I don't remember where were we at during this pose, but I'd be tempted to, like, looks like, oh, come back. There we go. I'd be tempted to do something fun with this because she is a warrior. Maybe she's sneaking up on somebody with a gun, you know. It's like, don't be afraid to change up a little bit, maybe what the model's doing in action. You know what I mean? And just remember, buddy, the where the hips are here. Whose kids are those screaming? I don't know. Just where the waist is, then you got your hips. Okay, just to be mindful of that structure back there. Okay. But I do like how you did that folding of the hand there. That's really cool. So yeah. All right. That's all I got. All right, Mr. Luke. Very nice, dude. Thanks for submitting those. Lori Sawyer. Hello, Lori. How are you? Okay. All right, let's tackle this one, shall we? Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to trim this just a little bit. Hang in there. All right, that'll do. Boom, boom. Okay. Okay, so yeah, she was leaning over on her leg there. Very nice. I think this is a proportion, and we're just talking about that. And structure thing also. I think we could use another Anatomy Bites lessons over the summer. I think all of us, right? A little refresher. All right, so what was she doing with this leg? I think she was doing something like that. Obviously, she was sitting on the ground. So we're going to have the little ground plane there. Which is cool. And then she has this leg like you have it. The important thing about these kind of wacky poses here, can't remember what her leg was doing there, but just to draw through a little bit. You have to draw some shapes. I think thinking about a little bit of structure, you would have your armpit here, and this follows around a little bit to your lats back here. Not your lat, I think maybe lat. But the chest is here. Your rib cage is under there. You would have, I know the dress is probably covering all this to a certain point, but your belly would be about there. And then your hip would be there. I'm just kind of drawing that a little louder than it would be. But, and then you would have the butt on the floor, kind of like you have it, with a little bit of the squish right there. And I'm tempted to bring this leg a little flatter just to get it to be on the plane there. And I think she had those boots on, right? And then, let's see, which foot is that? Something like that. But I think what's really cool, Lori, is you did find your attitude in there. You know, I could see what you're going for, which is great. And so I'm just kind of picking a little bit on the structure idea. Just kind of doodling here. I like what you did with this. Here we go. So yeah, and that back leg back there is already kind of going on. So anyway, just being a little bit mindful of some structure and some overlapping shapes. So yeah, that's all. Same idea there. And because of time, we're going to move on to, I think, another student. This one, maybe one more here. Can't help it. I'm going to keep going. Let's see. How many more do we have? 1, 2, 3. Okay. We can do this. We've got 3 more peoples. I love it. All right. Kind of got a late start. I had a little bit of tech issues, as usual. Cool. You're welcome, Luke. So this one, I don't have the pose in front of me, darn it all. I remember this pose, though. It was so cool. It was such a great... Let's see here. C. Martin Art. I've been studying gestures several months ago. Yes. You should study gestures all the time. Let's see. Thanks for the tips. It's easy to get carried away with motion/emotion of a drawing and not realize how wonky the anatomy is until I step back and look at it as a whole. Cool. Hey, Andy Tunes. Cool, man. Well, this is why we do it every week, everybody. So, of course, I'm a big advocate for if you want to get better at something, you've got to practice it a lot, right? And this is why we do our weekly class. We do it every Saturday. It's been almost 5 years. So, God bless my patient family for letting me do this every Saturday. But it's been a blast, and there's been a lot of growth. And throughout my career, I've really, I found that I've got to do it all the time. I've got to draw all the time to get better. And this is the long haul. This is the journey, that we're all on as artists. It's like, oh, I did that once in college, and it's like, okay, well, cool. I'm not that guy. I need to keep doing it, And I found that it's helped so many areas of my career, Now as an Imagineer, I really believe that it's helped me with coming up with ideas, because this is very unscientific research. I'm not a scientist, Jim. But because in this class we are pushing poses and we are constantly thinking about what's going on in the mind of a character and trying to get that on the paper, right? Or the stylus, whatever you do. But it's like, it doesn't matter the medium, but you're trying to find that inner thing, okay? And so we're constantly asking questions. We're constantly thinking, okay, how can this, be pushed, Or and it's the same thing with presenting a problem at your job, or your project for school or whatever. It's like you have to ask a ton of questions, right? So anyway, Lori, just picking on it a little bit, I think I like your idea of the leg, that far leg being up. I could tell that probably on the other side of that pose, the knee is sticking up in the air. But I kind of brought it down just because I don't know if I like how it's working just with the leg sticking out of her chest like that. I almost wanted to give it a little bit more. Maybe I went too far with showing too much leg, like the thigh and all that stuff. Maybe I ruined the vibe. But take a drink here. It's really important that these things read, right? The silhouette, it's got to read quickly. And so that's why I futzed with that. And again, it's really good to draw through the pose, meaning thinking of it in 3 dimensions, what's going on in back of it, that kind of a thing. And that will help with some of your structure in the drawing. And if you're not happy with it, with what the model's doing, I mean, you could change it, kind of like I did. So anyway, all that to say, structure, good stuff. Mr. Nick, I got your message, Nick. I put your Instagram handle on next week's gallery. We have a student gallery every week, everybody, where the students can all see each other's work, and it's really fun. So come get in there, man. All right, really cool. Maybe just proportions got a little away from me, but really nice drawings this week. I'm gonna scroll through these really quickly. This one looks great. Whoa, come back. I'm gonna shrink it down a little bit so everybody can see. Woo-hoo. Hey, we just did this pose. There you go. Well, there you go. There's an example. We're just talking about this with Lori's drawing. But I like how you did that back leg there. So you can actually see more of the leg and a little bit more structure. So very nice. Dig it. This one, again, you had some really nice solid drawings this week, Nick. And, in general, your drawings very solid. You're understanding the weight shifts and balance and all those good things. But I think we can go a little further. And I was trying to push this drawing. I remember this drawing in class. I was maybe going a little further with performance. Let's see here. Jazzy tunes. I'm super stoked that somehow I stumbled on your workshops. Woohoo! Go internet. Jenny Z. Okay, cool. Not Jazzy, but Jenny Z. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I was reading her comments there on Instagram. I appreciate that. Janie Z. Yeah, come draw with us. Do you draw with us on Saturdays? What's going on? Anyway, all right, performance stuff, Mr. Nick. I'm like, shiny thing. Over there. What's going on? I remember this pose, and I remember trying to think, how can I get more out of this? The model's great. Lindsay's amazing. She puts a lot into her poses every time she's with us. She's a great actress and all those things. But this goes for any pose, okay? Not just somebody model did the wrong thing. The model's doing their thing, but it's up to us, right, as actors and artists to pull something out of it, okay? And with this pose, I remember thinking, okay, instead of just somebody standing here like that, like how can I do something a little bit more, like maybe, I think my thought was, and this is just me, like maybe make her head turn a little bit more like over her shoulder, like she's, she senses something, a disturbance in the force or whatever, right? Let me erase what I did here. Ah! Whoa. I guess I was drawing on your drawing. Do my Photoshop thing here. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. So in that case, I might shift everything. How would that feel? Like sometimes it helps, to strike your own pose. Like would her arm be, would that shoulder still be down like that, like she has it? Or would it be up, So for the sake of time and all of that, maybe I'll just turn her head a little bit, It's like, try this stuff, Let's see. Maybe she should be looking down. I think so much of doing life drawing classes, things like that, which is super important. We're trying to, I think we're always trying to emulate the model and do a beautiful rendering sometimes, or likeness, right? Or get that anatomy working right, or get that. And there's nothing wrong with it. I've done hundreds of those classes, in workshops or sessions, whatever, so I get it. But with this stuff, it's like, how can we push? No, I don't like that. Don't like it. How can we push the idea? How can we find an action or an emotion or an attitude, right? I don't know if this is successful either, but I think it's a little bit more on the line of what I was thinking. Forgive the weird proportions and things, but I know we weren't doing blowing hair a whole lot during the class this time. But anyway, does that make sense? I know that was a long way around the rabbit hole there, but instead of just having an ordinary pose and making a beautiful drawing, and your proportions are great, your drawings look really appealing this week, It's like taking it just a little further, you know, instead of the model like, hey, how's it going? It's like maybe you're really, you know, dropping that down, that shoulder, getting something a little creepier, you know, things like that. So all I'm saying, Nick, is take it a little further because I think you're there with your drawing, which is great, and it's like just pushing that barrier a little bit. Go, go, go. Anyway, all right. Got two more here. Let's do this thing. And we're about at the top of our hour here, but we're going to squeeze him in. Mr. Michael. Thanks for joining us this week, Michael. So I don't quite remember this pose, but what I would say, and we'll just do this one. Proportions look great in your work, dude. All those good things. You got some really nice elements going on. But maybe it's like a similar note to Nick, just like really pushing attitude a little bit more. And I'm going through a thing with my job right now where I'm really having to find some attitude in this particular character. A very familiar character, but it's like I need to find it, you know, and have to really, I'm digging, and I'm having to push things around, and you know, really, how does this character thinking and feeling, and all of those things, and it's the same mantra, right? We talk about all the time, but it's the struggle is real. This is what we got to do. So all that to say, like, what is she thinking here? You know, it's just like, is she rearing up with her sword, right? Is she hiding something? You know, because right now her body is a little bit vertical. It's just like everything's kind of straight up and down and a little bit boxy, right? But what if we... I like how you have her shoulder up. That's really cool. So I want to keep that. But I'm just going to go with the idea of this sword idea. Maybe keep your... I like where her head is. I love the indication of her face there. But maybe even just pull a leg out. I know maybe the model didn't do that. But again, what can I do to add a little bit more to this, you know? Maybe I would even have her hands even higher, like above her head, I don't know. You know, like she's really rearing back. Sometimes it's just a matter of, does this silhouette read, and how can I push that, okay? Does that make sense? Mr. Dude? Okay, that's all. I won't belabor it, but yeah, that's all that to say. Mix it up a little bit. Not everything has to be big and dynamic, right? But subtlety is good too. But I think you could still add some interest. And maybe, you know, Matt had asked about twist. You know, you can even add some twist to the torso, right? And still keep her body sideways. And that would add a little bit of interest. Okay, so yeah, that's all. I don't know. Pushing it a little bit, moving things around. Well, this one has some nice energy. I really like this one, Michael. Very nice. Nicely done. Thanks for submitting your stuff, dude. All right, Corey. We got a lot of stuff here. Very cool. Let's see. I'm looking through. Very nice. I think proportions are looking pretty good. I would just finish those legs, man. Let's see. All right, what's I was going to talk about proportions in one of them, but let's tackle this one. And then we'll call it a night, everybody. Yeah. Okay. Because this one, I would want to talk about proportions too. So let's tackle this one. Oh, looks like I moved my screen there. Okay. There we go. All right. All right, Corey. So this one could be a subtle kind of emotional thing, I think, with her performance. Let's see, I'm going to take my cue from, looks like she's holding her arm like that, which is cool. I think she was holding an axe, or I think we were making fun of it during the class. But proportions wise, I'll just do what you're doing with the legs out, kind of even. But just remember that a good rule of thumb for proportions is basically the bottom of the crotch is the halfway point with the body. So like from the bottom of the feet to the top of the head, the bottom of the crotch is usually that marker for halfway. So things like that. So I think the torso got a little long, you know, and up here would be your hips, like in that area, and this drops down. I'm sorry, your waist is up here, your hips would be down here a little bit. It's getting late, I'm telling you. What's a hip? I don't know. And attitude-wise, so yeah, there's the proportion thing, and then attitude-wise, I'm gonna fix my own scribble here. When I think about like that teenager thing, or that kind of when you kind of grab your arm, you know, she might be trying to hide a little bit, you know, or something like that. Maybe her head is slumped down a little bit, like that. I remember she had her whatchamacallit, straight hair. Let's indicate a expression there. Keeping it really loose, but I think she had her. I need to draw an axe again. Something like that. Hiya! Build weapon. But yeah, so just block in those proportions. And again, dropping the head is a good way to push some attitude too. Just little things, like little body language kind of stuff. Okay. Beyond that, some of these other ones look really nice with your proportion, like this pointing one. Really nice with your proportions. That looks good. And I can see you're working a little bit. You're doing that rhythm thing, which I love the rhythm thing. But maybe just quickly finish off some of those things, like some of those legs and things. Let's see. Come on. Okay. Let's do it really quick here. Can't help myself. Keep going. Going crazy here. All right, and then we'll call it a night. All right, so just with these legs, I like the pose. I love the angle of the shoulder that you did. I'm talking about this pointing one at the bottom here. I love the thing, and it's got a nice feeling, you know. And that to me is a very important thing. Does the thing have a nice feeling? And I like the rhythm that you did with your appendages, but I think Finishing it off a little bit with like a straight. So you have your curve that you've done with your calf, but maybe get a straight in there. Straights and curves are great tools as well. We're talking about drawing tools tonight, right? I think one of the comments talked about squash and stretch and things like that. But straights and curves are another great tool to consider. A straight line, and it's kind of a graphic-y thing, but a straight defines action, right? And a curve will help define the volume. So in this case, on this calf muscle, that's a nice volume thing. It's pretty straightforward. And then the straight is a really nice shin bone there. And that obviously is giving you that dynamic. It's almost like an arrow. Look that way. Action. Right? So yeah, maybe add a little bit more to your rhythm there, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, really nice stuff. I love how loose you are, and that is really important. So anyway, well, great job, Corey. Very nice stuff. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on Redline Live, the All in Gesture workshop feedback session and your Q&A. So thank you so much for contributing your questions via Instagram tonight. And thank you for the members who joined in. Thanks, Nick. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Michael, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us so late in the day here and spending your time with us. And what else we got? Saturday, if you want to join our workshop, you can go to my bio if you're on Instagram or if you're on YouTube. But we're going to have some fun themes in the month of June. Epic Universe, which is a Universal Studios theme park, had just recently opened up. So we're going to do some themes based on that. So I thought that might be kind of fun. This weekend, we're going to do Astrid from How to Train Your Dragon. And our model, Kelly, will be back with us. If for our members, you know who that is. And she's fantastic, a really good actress. And she's going to be Astrid. It should be fun. So come draw with us. All right. That's all I got to say. You guys have a great rest of your week. And get out and draw in the wild. And we'll see you Saturday. All right. Bye.